last time I took an opponent lightly, I lost my belt. Never do that again.
I think he could be remotivated to get a belt back. My job is to make sure I don't give it back to him.
Welcome to Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's John Arcuyo. That's Jeremy Hurt over there to the far left. You just saw Jon Arcuyo's UFC 135 promo. We have that up on YouTube, guys. We want you guys to go out there and look at that. Give us some feedback on it. I personally think it's better than the UFC promo.
I think it's hot fire, honestly.
You hot fire?
I use that lightly, but that's what it is right there.
Well, thank you. I got it made because I want everybody to get excited, just as pumped as I am for this fight. It's huge. Rampage, Jones, it's going to be a big one.
And we're going to get to that later in the show, but before we get to that, we're going to talk this Floyd Mayweather and Victor Ortiz drama and beef that's going on with everybody who watched the fight, even if they're not boxing fans, has an opinion on what happened in the fight. And if you didn't see the fight, Victor Ortiz headbutted Mayweather, and it kind of caused some controversy after that. Victor was trying to apologize. He apologized like 4 times, and he tried to hug Mayweather. He came tap gloves again once the ref said it was in. It was time to go, and he came up and he tried to tap gloves again. Mayweather tapped gloves, and then he went to give him a hug in the middle of a boxing match, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Mayweather put his hands up, he backed up, and he hit him with a left hook, and he knocked him out with a power straight. Now, of course, when this happened, the whole crowd went up in an uproar. But you guys have seen the footage. I'm gonna get your opinions on what happened. I personally have Mayweather's back. He said, "Protect yourself at all times." That's what you do in a boxing match. That's the last thing a ref tells you to do is protect yourself at all times. Don't be trying to hug people in a war. I didn't understand what Victor was doing.
Well, I guess I'm kind of torn on that. I mean, boxing's supposed to be a gentleman's sport, right? But at the same time, it is an athletic competition for millions of dollars where you could go to sleep if you don't win. So, I mean, at the same time, it's kind of like, sometimes you got to poke a shark in the nose, if you know what I'm saying. Like, don't worry about the rules if the guy, or, not the rules, but the unwritten rules. The guy's chin's out there and he's playing a different game than you're playing, use the rules. And
you bring up a good point. It's supposed to be a gentleman's sport. It's a fine line, because the things that happened at that point in time, there was a lot of factors that went into it. There's headbutts. He had been warned. Ortiz had been warned, and he threw a Street Fighter Dowsum headbutt at Mayweather, and it busted his lip to the point where he needed stitches. Now, of course, you're a fighter. You just got an illegal move put on you, and luckily it didn't knock him out, and it didn't end the fight or anything like that. But that just happened to you, and he had been warned before, and you kind of start feeling like, hey, this guy might headbutt me again. He could give me brain damage. He could give me this. He could give me that. This fight could be over if he headbutts me again. So when I see my next opportunity to knock him out, I'm gonna knock him out, and that's how I view it. I mean, me being a person being the person I am, we report on this kind of thing, and there's a lot of on the fence people going back and forth. It was dishonorable. It's hurting the sport. Or it's doing this or it's doing that, and like I said, I side with Mayweather. Even Ortiz said himself it was a naive young mistake.
Absolutely, Ortiz, he's 24, you know, loses his belt because he's making mistakes. He doesn't have his head in the fight. Like you said, making a young man's mistakes, not keeping it up when he goes to make the excuse that he was talking to the ref. Yes, possibly could have happened, but you know what? He shouldn't ever be talking to the ref. He should be looking straight at his opponent, Mayweather, especially someone so seasoned and so powerful. You know, of course, he was probably really ticked off when caught a couple headbutts. That's going to piss any fighter off. And then, you know, he gets his chance to put a hurt on Ortiz. Of course he's going to take it. Of course he's going to take as much, you know, anger out after he's got a split lip just thanks to this young kid who's been talking all this trash. And that's another thing. So much trash talk leading up to this fight. Just insane.
They almost got in a fight at the press conference. I saw one of the fights. I didn't get to see the beginning press conference before the fight happened, but there's a really famous picture going around where you see Ortiz is in Mayweather's face, and Mayweather has his hand like embedded into Victor Ortiz's throat. And it's just, there was so much controversy going into this fight. And the way it ended didn't help the whole situation with that. But like I said, I'm a true boxing fan, and I looked at Mayweather and what he did, and when I saw it, I was like, I don't see anything wrong. I mean, yeah, maybe it kind of made my conscience go, maybe he should have waited a little bit longer. But when somebody comes at you with their hands up and you're trying to hug them and, you know, you back up and your hands are still right here and his hands are in his guard, what do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to wait for you to set up and get, okay, I'm going to let you get set up, bro. Okay, I'm going to let you get set up and then we can go. The ref set up time. It was clear that it was in time to fight, and I don't see anything wrong with it. It didn't hurt the sport. All it did was bring controversy, and what does that bring? That brings fans to the sport, so I don't think it hurt the sport at all.
Well, like you said, just more controversy for boxing, more problems, more to talk about, trying to set up these other fights. And you know what? It's not a one-on-one pickup game. This is for a title belt. There's no gentlemanly, I'm going to wait for you, let's recheck the ball. It's, I'm going to try and knock this guy out and, you know, take what's mine.
And that's kind of the bottom line, really. You can make your arguments about, you know, doing things the right way, but at the end of the day, just like in football, play until the whistle blows. You know, that's what Mayweather did.
And even to put it in football terms, say it's raining. Last week it rained a lot, you know, during the Arkansas game. If a running back slips, is the defensive end going to stop from tackling me? Oh, he's down, he's falling, I'm just going to stop. Or is he going to knock his head off?
Depends if it's Nick Fairley or not.
Well, all right, guys, we're going to go into a break here. When we come back, we're going to finish up this Mayweather-Ortiz talk. We might get into a little Pacquiao-Mayweather. Maybe that's going to happen. That fight's going to happen now. And then we're going to go into UFC 135. You're watching Off the Mat.
High school kids just wanting to get it on. Apparently what he does for money is make children. We learned that apparently segways are really important. In Tron, they go thread the whip. Neil Diamond, I like to call him the Jewish Elvis. Fridays at 9, I'm here, love me, please, not so late.
It's like, you hit me, you want to do me dirty, then 2 minutes later it's like, oh, we friends. It's like, it's the hurt business. It's boxing. We're here to get it in.
No, I was looking at Joe.
You were looking
he said break or something, so I was like, huh? And then boom, I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's time for bed. I'm not even excited or happy. I did my crying in the locker room. You could ask the coaches, man. They're right there with me. I was showering and I let them all out. I let all the tears out. I let everything out I've always worked for this moment. I've always worked for this time, and I was sitting in the locker room in the shower just crying like a baby, man. I just kind of have to swallow my pride, you know?
And welcome back to Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver. As always, I'm joined by John Urcuyo and Jeremy Hurt. And when we left you guys, we were talking about the Floyd Mayweather and Victor Ortiz fight. We're going to get onto the Facebook, the Off the Mat Facebook. You guys can check that out at facebook.com/OffTheMatTV. We had a couple comments that came through, a couple real boxing fans that came through. I was very pleased with. So, you know, we had our first guy, Jamie Lynn Jones, is a guy that I was kind of having a conversation with. He said it was a good payday for both fighters. Excuse me, a good fight? I don't think so. It was more hype than anything. I think Ortiz learned a valuable lesson. I think Mayweather could have shown more sportsmanship in the way that he KO'd Ortiz. I just would have liked to seen a war in the ring, more entertainment for my buck, I guess. It's a very valid statement. Like I said, I kind of agree with him. You know, Maybe he should have waited a couple seconds more to let Ortiz get set up. But like I said, me being a person who's trained in boxing and does that kind of thing, I'm not waiting for anybody. I don't know that guy. We're not friends. I'm not waiting for you. I'm sorry. You headbutted me, and if you've seen the gash on his lip, it was pretty big. Pretty sure he had to get stitches from that. We're going to go to another. Keith Walker. He said, not disputing it was legal and Ortiz should have defended himself, but anyone arguing it wasn't a sucker punch is either blindly rooting for Floyd or doesn't really understand what makes a great champion. Anyone imagine Ali doing this? Don't think so. And what do you guys, I want to get your guys on that one.
I mean, it's a great reference. The fighters in the past, they got that killer instinct. It's gas 999 all the time until the guy's on the end of the mat.
I'm not sure it's the best comparison. Ali might not have done it because he's too arrogant to even, ever have that possibility of saying, well, you sucker punch. Yeah. But I don't know. Again, I'm not sure that's the best example. It's not. Let's be honest with ourselves, and I don't want to sound like I'm demeaning boxing here, but even the most hardcore boxing fan knows where I'm coming. This isn't a sport that's been marred by high integrity and good intentions for years and years and years. The gentleman's sport's kind of a air quotes type thing. But again, I think it just keeps coming back to that same principle. Whether Mayweather was right or not, Ortiz was definitely wrong. Put it that way. Again, play to the whistle blows. I think
it's a gray area. Go ahead, John.
And another fight that's supposed to be, bringing boxing back and bringing the fans back to it, and another disappointment. Now these fans paying money, going to these events, all this hype up 24/7. They've got all this, static going about this fight that's supposed to be replacing Pacquiao and Mayweather, and then this is the kind of outcome that we have: more controversy, more problems for boxing.
We're gonna move on from that now. Pacquiao and Mayweather have been. It surfaces again. Last week we had gone on record as saying that we don't believe that fight's ever going to happen. It's been too long, and the fighters don't really even care anymore. Does anybody even care to see it anymore? Well, now this news comes out that Manny Pacquiao agrees to take the drug test that Mayweather's camp has been chasing so much. Now you kind of have to start thinking: is this fight going to happen again?
Well, again, I'm not sure that I ever really thought that the fight would happen, and today I don't really think it'll ever happen. There's a lot of money to be made in not putting that fight. I know that seems really counterintuitive, but there really is, because every fight between now and the next time that Mayweather or Pacquiao lose a fight is huge, because this is possibly the fight before the big fight. You know what I mean? Give a man a fish, he eats today. Teach a man to fish, he eats forever. It's kind of the same deal. You can only hit it up once if you go for the big shot. So I think that that's one of the things. With big fights, we see it all the time. I mean, we talk about MMA a lot on this show. How long did we hear that Chuck and Vanderlei were going to fight in their primes, and it never happened? It happened when they were old. How long have we been hearing about GSP and Anderson Silva? These monster fights that you always hear are going to happen very rarely do, until someone's lost or has kind of gone over the hill.
Well, and absolutely, that's the trick of the trade that they're trying to save boxing with, and it's just, it's not going to hold. You tell your kids that it's, hey, if you're good, I'll take you to Chuck E. Cheese after school. But, I don't think that's going to happen. Just more, fable, more talk, just trying to get this fight, people to come back to boxing, with this hope that this super fight is going to happen, but, it may not.
And before we go to break, guys, so that's a definitive no. You don't think it's going to happen? John,
I think it might happen, but it won't be when they're,
when everybody wants it to happen.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it for the Floyd Mayweather talk, guys. When we come back from this break, we're going to talk TUF 14. This was an amazing opening show for The Ultimate Fighter, the last Ultimate Fighter to air on Spike TV. When we come back, we'll get into that. You're watching Off the Mat. Alright guys, welcome back to Off the Mat. As usual, I'm Bernard Oliver, that's John Arcuyo, that's Jeremy Hurt. Moving on from boxing, getting into our main topic that we usually talk about, getting back into some MMA. TUF 14, for you guys out there that don't know what TUF stands for, it stands for The Ultimate Fighter. The Ultimate Fighter is in season 14 right now. It's on Spike TV. It's the last Ultimate Fighter that's going to come on Spike TV before they move over to FX with their contract with Fox and all that kind of stuff. And boy, did they start it out heavy.
Honestly, I thought it was the best single standalone episode of The Ultimate Fighter probably since the season 1 finale. I mean, you know, to put it in those, it's the event that launched mainstream MMA.
It's up there.
But yeah, you got great coaches, not necessarily great people, but for maybe a dramatic reality television show, maybe that works. But I mean, you got well-rounded guys who know people, you know, that have people in their camps that can come and help train, and the fighting ability. First of all, when you got bantamweights and featherweights, you got the 135s, the 145s. It's just a special breed of fighting that they bring to an octagon anyway, because it's just motor, finish the fight until it's over, you know, no matter how long that fight happens to be. So the foundation's there in the first place.
Well, and absolutely, you've got two guys that will just fuel these little guys' fires.
Absolutely.
Like you said, so much trash talk between both of them. I think Miller and Bisping, you know, guys who have had good careers, haven't gotten that super pinnacle where they want to be, but they believe that they're the best fighter in the UFC.
Truly believe.
And they are just going to, you know, motivate these guys. I don't know how their coaching skills are. We saw that with Rampage and Rashard, you know, two huge trash talkers. You know, one was a good coach, one wasn't, and we're going to see how that turns out. But I think this is just so much potential. What could be one of the best TUFs that we've seen so far.
And speaking of the Ultimate Fighter and guys going off and being superstars, the Ultimate Fighter 13 superstar, Tony Ferguson versus Mr. Aaron Riley. Where can you go from this fight? Tony Ferguson came out, and he's kind of a jackbutt. You know, didn't really like him. Again, TV cameras kind of change your perception on people. But Tony Ferguson's a fighter. He's a great up-and-coming guy. I don't even know if you really call him up-and-coming because he's already got great talent.
Well, you take a guy like, sorry, I'm going to have to jump in on this one. You take a guy like Ferguson who, you know, TV shed whatever light it wants to on you as possible. Made some mistakes, a bit of alcohol abuse maybe in the house. But you can't say anything about his stand-up and striking ability. The guy took over, TUF 13. He's a champ. I'm pretty sure, if we rewind the tapes back, I'm pretty sure I picked him to win that.
Y'all are really good at bringing y'all's picks up in the later shows, aren't you?
Well, when you get some right.
Interesting.
I guess I don't get ones right.
Aaron Riley, you know, a tough opponent, but I got to stick with Ferguson. I think his hands are going to be too quick.
That's exactly where I'm at right now. I'm feeling Ferguson's going to he's just going to have the upper hand. Ferguson, he's just miles ahead of where he was in that competition. He learns very fast, and he brings a lot to the table already. I got to take Ferguson on this. Jeremy, who you got?
You know, Ferguson didn't do himself any favors, as we discussed with maybe some of his comment selection on the show. But he looked spectacular against Ramsey Najim in that final. Aaron Riley, honestly, is not Ramsey Najim. You know, I think he's a very talented fighter, but he's not Aaron Riley. He's had some issues over his last few fights, but I still think the experience and the talent, honestly, both go to Aaron Riley in this fight.
Guys, when we come back from the break, we're going to get into the co-main event, Josh Kosek versus Mr. Matt Hughes. And we're going to get into the main event, Rampage versus Jon Jones. You're watching Off the Mat.
Reporting for UATV, I'm Tony Cosgrove.
Reporting for UATV, I'm Courtney Brown.
Welcome back to Off the Mat. This is our final segment of the day, guys. I'm kind of sad that we're at the end of the show, but I'm also very happy because of the fights that we're about to talk about here. Got a little carried away earlier in the show talking about, you know, we get up here, we get to talking MMA, boxing, we get carried away with that kind of thing. So we'll probably create an update for you guys. You guys can go check that out on YouTube. I'll probably put that on a link for you guys to go check that out on Facebook. Make sure you guys check out facebook.com/offthemat.tv if you want to, go like the page. We're on there all the time with live blogging, events, that kind of thing. You can also join all of us on Twitter at Bernard_Oliver, at John Urquio, and at Jeremy Hurt if you need to see how that's
2 T's.
2 T's in Hurt. You guys can go on Twitter and see us. You can also follow Off the Mat on Twitter at Off the Mat TV. So if you guys want to check us out on social media, there we are. Getting back into the fights, though, we have Josh Kosek versus Mr. Matt Hughes. Now, originally this fight was a fight between Diego Sanchez and Matt Hughes. Diego goes out with an injury, 19 days notice. Josh Kosek comes in. Because you asked for a better replacement. I really feel like this fight is a better fight than the fight we would have gotten with Diego Sanchez and Matt Hughes.
Well, I think, it could go a couple of different ways. the way I kind of see this playing out, I think Josh Koscheck, while he might be kind of dumb, he's not stupid. And I think he'll probably come out and try to overwhelm Hughes on his feet. And if he doesn't, then I think we could get into kind of a situation. Because if there are two guys in the UFC that are perfectly content to lay on top of you and wait for the whistle, it's these two guys. And I'm just being honest here.
Two great wrestlers. I mean, what else can you...
Yeah, I mean, which, again, it's the same kind of deal. Those are the rules of the game. So I'm not, hating on it. I'm just saying it could go either way. I could see someone getting knocked out, someone named Matt Hughes getting knocked out in the first 15, 20 seconds. I could also see 15 minutes of, going and getting another beer. It could go either way. I do think Josh Koscheck, again, way too young. I think, Matt Hughes was the best wrestler of his generation, but in MMA, generations are a lot shorter, and he's a couple generations back at this point. I think Koscheck, in every phase of the game, is Matt Hughes' superior, including physically, which I think is going to be the real key in this fight.
Absolutely. You're fighting a legend. Matt Hughes, been around, UFC icon. You got Koscheck, younger, 4 years younger. He's still got a motor. It's still going. His wrestling, just, about equal with Hughes, maybe even a little bit higher because of his Hughes. I think he's got, that. Like you said, we've seen Hughes pop, knocked out. The chin's not nearly what it used to be. I definitely think that Koscheck has a big advantage. Yeah, he is a trash talker, and that does take some away from people, how fans, view him. But the guy comes out and fights. He's been in the UFC. He's got a lot more UFC octagon wins than most people that are in the business still. So I think Koscheck definitely takes this one away.
And Koscheck is a legend in his own right. Koscheck coming off the Ultimate Fighter Season 1 when they didn't even really have weight classes around. You had people who were fighting light heavyweight now that were fighting with people like Koscheck. Not to take anything away from Matt Hughes, but Josh Koscheck is a legend in my generation. For the people who didn't watch MMA when it first started, not saying I didn't go back and watch those fights, but when I started watching MMA, Koscheck was one of those names that was, hey, watch out for this guy. He's awesome. So, he's a legend in his own right.
When you get right down to it, he's kind of 2003, and, Josh Koscheck's kind of 2007.
Well, guys, we're going to go and get your picks then. Josh Koscheck, Matt Hughes, Jeremy, who you got?
I got Koscheck. Easily Koscheck.
Jeremy. Jeremy's not fighting. Josh Koscheck or Matt Hughes, excuse me.
I got to go with Koscheck. The younger man wins this one.
Unanimous again, man. If we lose on this card, we're going to be looking pretty bad up here as analysts. But I'm going to take Josh Koscheck on that fight, too. Getting into our main event. A fight that I've been so excited about since it was mentioned. I really wanted to see Rashad fight Jon Jones first, but you have these two men back here, Jon Bones Jones versus Rampage Jackson. This has been some of the most detrimental trash talking I've ever seen. I've never seen really two guys just be legitimately angry at each other when they're about to fight. I mean, Rampage, I don't know where it came from. Jon Jones is a very reserved guy, but Rampage's mouth brought out any anger that he had laying down low. Jon Jones is always very composed, and Rampage brought that anger out of him. I've never seen Jon Jones get flustered before, and he got to the point where I felt like he wanted to punch Rampage through the TV when he was being interviewed live at the Battle on the Bayou. They interviewed him via satellite, and when Rampage was talking, Jon Jones just gave one of these, and he said, I just wanted to see the fight at that point.
Talk is talk, and that's something that Rampage does very well. And I know this is going to come off wrong. Listen, I love Rampage as much as anybody.
Here it comes.
The first time I watched him slam somebody straight out of a triangle that didn't hook the leg, I'm down with Rampage every step of the way. That being said, talk ain't going to help when you can't check a leg kick, you know what I mean? And Jon Jones, it's such a mismatch to me.
It's a mismatch, really.
It's a total mismatch to me. I mean, Bones is longer, he's faster, he's stronger. He doesn't have the all-around technique that Rampage has, but I mean, on the ground, who do you think that's going to lean towards? He's got the size, he's got the leverage, he's got everything you want to see. To me, it's a total mismatch. I love Rampage to death. I think he's one of the top fighters in that division. It's just not, it's Steelers-Patriots. I'm a Steelers fan. There are years they're the best team in the league, but they're still going to lose to the Patriots in the playoffs because that's what happens when they play the Patriots. It's a bad match for Rampage. I don't see any way he wins this fight.
Rampage brought up, just say, John, my bad, didn't mean to interrupt you, but Rampage brought up a great point that I saw thanks to MMA Heat. Little shout out there to Karen Bryan Wade, aka MMA Heat. They showed the press conference via Facebook And, Rampage said, people said Chuck Liddell was longer than me and he was going to get me. People said Wanderlei was longer than me and he was going to get me. All due respect, Chuck Liddell, and Wanderlei Silva are not Jon Jones. They don't have 84.5-inch reaches. You can't dispute the fact that his length is going to be a problem for Rampage. The fact is, can he get inside and can he use his knockout power to knock out Jon Jones? That's the fact of the matter.
Well, in this fight, it just matches up, about a decade ago when we saw Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis fight, okay? You've got a superpower striker that just can't get inside, and Lennox Lewis wasn't able to use that right and left leg to kick somebody in the face with it. So it's going to be even harder for Rampage to get into it. Rampage, love him. Nothing but absolute icon of the UFC, of pride. Power bombs people. Okay, this isn't WWE, this is real MMA fighting, and he's power bombing people. Great knockouts, illustrious career, but I think Jon Jones is the future. The guy has got too much in his arsenal. He's too fast. He's just elusive, super accurate striker. Rampage has a chance if he can, get one of those swings in, maybe connect, on those blind shots. But really, I just see Jones, taking advantage of that size and that reach and taking over the whole fight.
And let me say, sometimes we kind of edge into hyperbole when it comes to Jon Bones Jones. And, the kid's probably my favorite fighter in the octagon today. At the same time, he's not invincible. He's obviously got weak spots. We haven't seen them yet, but every fighter's got weak spots. There are things that he's, definitely shielding himself, situations he shielded himself from getting into in the octagon. And, so those questions kind of persist. So let's not, he's not Superman. It's not like this is an unbeatable man. Again, it's just the matchup. I love Rampage to death, and it hurts to say this, but I don't see his avenue of attack, honestly. I don't even know where he attacks Jon Jones.
Well, guys, if that's going to do it for your synopsis of the fight, Rampage, I'm going to go against you guys. As much as I don't want to, as much as the arsenal that Jon Jones brings to the table, Rampage has already shown he's very cerebral. And he got into Jon Jones' head. Like I said, never seen Jon Jones get flustered before. And I've seen him get flustered 2 or 3 times at press conferences with Rampage. I think Jon Jones just wants to get out there and prove that he can knock out the legend. At the same time, Rampage has been said by Dana White, Karen Bryan of MMA, himself, his camp, everybody, that he's in the greatest shape of his life right now. What happened last time we heard that? We heard that in Brazil. Nogueira came out and he knocked out Brendan Schaub. Now, this is a totally different fight, but when you get somebody who's legend status and they're in the best shape of their life, there's something going on in that cat. He's motivated to get his way back. Jerry wants to go ahead, Jerry.
I'm just saying, in all fairness, the last time we hear that someone's in the best shape of their life before that fight will be the fight before. It's every fight the fighter's in the greatest shape they've ever been. He may very well be in the greatest shape he's ever been. I can totally believe that. It's not going to make Jon Bones Jones any shorter.
Yeah.
It's not going to make him any less fast. Slower, I guess, would probably be the word there. But it's not going to make him less dynamic. It's not going to make him less dominant. That's really good for Rampage. If he can run upstairs, carrying weights or whatever. But it's not going to change the basic physiological facts here. Again, it's just a horrible matchup.
And that's the point that I was getting to. Rampage has said he's been studying so much film. You can't really study a lot of film on Jon Jones, but he's been studying. He's been doing his research. Jon Jones says the same thing about Rampage. It's going to be a battle. It's a very hard fight to pick. I never want this fight to happen. Rampage is my favorite fighter of all time, and I don't want that to influence my pick. But a lot of people are voting for Jon Jones. I don't like going with the crowd. I don't like doing that. I believe that Rampage actually, if there's anybody left that can do it, it's going to be Rampage, and he's going to humble Jon Jones, or he's going to get knocked out. It's pretty simple. He's not going to get submitted. It's not going to go to the ground. They're not going to wrestle each other on the ground. They hate each other, and they're going to bang with each other. And if it goes to the ground, it's going to be banging on the ground. It's going to be somebody on top, ground and pounding, a KO, TKO, referee stoppage. We're going to get the picks right now. Jeremy, who you got?
Come on, Bones.
I mean, it's obvious who you have, but I would just say, John,
like you were saying, I do like the camp. I do think Rampage is more motivated than ever, and that he really wants his shot. With that being said, Jon Jones, we've seen the talent, we've seen the promise. I think may not be as quick as we think, but I definitely think it's going to be a brawl, and it's going to be handled by Jones.
And like I said, I got to go against you guys on that. I got to take Rampage in this just because of the level that Jon Jones is at, and maybe it's a little bit time for him to get humbled. And I feel like Rampage is going to come out. He's really been training as a fighter should train, blocking out everything that everybody's been saying, coming into a fight completely ready to be a champion again. And Jon Jones in his own right, I feel like he's going to defend that belt very well. I feel like in the long run, if he does retain his belt, he's going to hold it for a lot longer. I mean, if he beats Rampage, it's done. He's beat Rua, he's beat Rampage. He's going to beat Rashad when that fight happens. He's going to beat whoever wins between Dan Henderson and Shogun Rua in a couple months. If Rampage wins, can't say that about Rampage. But if Rampage wins, I say he goes out on top. I'm going to take Rampage in this fight. I think he's going to get inside. I think he's going to try and, he's going to take this fight a lot further than a lot of other people have taken the fight with Jon Jones. Going against my head there a little bit. Going against my heart and my head there because I really, really want to go with Jon Jones. But like I said,
your spleen?
My spleen, my liver, everything. Don't want to go with the crowd on this one. I just feel I feel a really strong, thing with Rampage right now. I feel like he's going to win.
And if I can hedge my bets just a little bit, and if Rampage gets, if he gets his fist on Jon, all bets are on, honestly.
Definitely. Well, guys, it's going to do it for us this week on Off the Mat. I'm Bernard Oliver. That's Jeremy Hurt over there to the far left, and that's John Urcuyo. We're here at Buffalo Wild Wings. You guys come out tomorrow on Saturday, and you come watch the UFC event. It's for free. You come out here. You have great food. It's a great atmosphere. The whole community comes out. Huge following in MMA comes out to Buffalo Wild Wings on West Joyce Boulevard, next to the Northwest Arkansas Mall. Right? For Jeremy Hurt and John Urcuyo, I'm Bernard Oliver. Until next time, we'll see you at the fights.